It's time to talk sports. It's Hacksaw's Headlines, a panorama of the world of sports, stories, comments, and opinions.
Touchdown, San Diego!
Now, here's iconic sports talk show host Lee Hacksaw Hamilton and co-host John Riley.
Who wants to talk sports on a Monday? We do, you do. From the DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Center studios in San Diego, we welcome you to our Monday bonus podcast. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Lee Hacksaw Hamilton, along with my co-host John Riley. We welcome you coming off a great sports weekend. This podcast is brought to you by DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Centers, 9 locations to serve you in San Diego. Regardless of what the project is, you need materials, DIXIELINE. You want ideas, DIXIELINE could be your best friend. Just go to DIXIELINE.com to see all the things they have to offer. John Riley, good afternoon. Baseball, pennant race push, first weekend. All things NFL, college football controversy everywhere. Wow.
There's a lot to talk about today. I mean, you came rolling in, and I was thinking, geez, we got about 12 or 15 different things to talk about.
Yeah, we're going to go a lot of different directions. Just a couple of business notes. We do sports talk the way it should be done. We put topics on the table, we express our opinions, and then we urge you to jump on board and ask questions or make statements. It's called Fans Forum. And when we're done with what we have to say, John, how does Fans Forum work?
Yeah, Fans Forum is your chance to get involved. Got a question for this man, Lee Hacksaw Hamilton. This is your chance to, to fire a shot. And I already see up here, I see Schickster and XX Revolution have already jumped in to say hello. So if you have a comment or question, type it in the live chat, preferably on YouTube. That's the best place to do it. But Facebook and X will also work, and we'll get your question or comment in during Fans Forum when we conclude with Hacksaw's Headlines.
And if you like sports, you have to sample my website. I write on it every day. You won't believe the volume of information, regardless if you're just an NFL fan or just into Major League Baseball, or you like pro basketball or hockey, auto racing, golf. We cover it all. Just go to the website, LeeHacksawHamilton.com. It's there every day. It's there first thing in the morning. You won't believe the amount of information that is there on it. You're on social media. I want you to join my Twitter All-Star team on X. Type in my name, Lee Hacksaw Hamilton. Hit the follow button when you do that. Then you can participate in all of Hacksaw's mini polls, because I ask a lot of pointed questions every night on social media. I want you to share. Tell everybody. We're here Mondays and Thursdays at 1:30. Subscribe. When you subscribe on the YouTube channel, where we have a massive following, you will get the alerts every time we put new videos up, and we do that quite often. Program note, we're here Mondays and Thursdays, normally at 1:30. This coming Thursday, because of some travel commitments we both have to make, we're going to go early with a podcast on Thursday, 9 a.m. Thursday morning. We're going to try a Thursday morning. I'll bring the coffee. He's going to bring the Danish. You make sure you're with us Thursday only, this Thursday, 9 a.m., podcast heading towards the great sports weekend. That's the business. Let's talk sports. John, where do you want to start?
Okay, this headline is fantastic. Padres-Dodgers fight to the death.
Oh, just absolutely amazing. These two teams are driving their fans out of their minds. The inability to beat up the bad teams, they're at the back end of the schedule, it's just been ridiculous. Now, the Padres did go into Colorado, and they lost on Friday night. How the hell is that possible? I did a thing on KUSI that offended everybody. There's a postcard from Kyle Freeland, the Colorado Rockies left-hander. Hi, I'm Kyle Freeland. I have a 3-14 record. My team has lost 101 games. I shut out your team last night on 2 hits and struck out 10. How do you like your team? By the way, your big money leadoff hitters went 1 for 15 against my stuff. People got so offended. How do you lose to the freaking Colorado Rockies? They came back, and they did beat them on Saturday and Sunday. Manny Machado, Fernando Tatis finally hit a couple of home runs there. That's fine. Doesn't mean a hill of beans, because you still got 3 weeks of the baseball schedule to play. So what? Padres have lost 9 of their last 13. Now they come home, and they get Cincinnati. The Padres are 78-65, and they're a game back of the Dodgers. And for the Dodgers, it's the same old, same old. The Dodgers with gold standard starting pitching This is the epitome of what Dodger baseball is right now, John. Yosh Yamamoto goes 8 2/3 innings, no-hit ball in Baltimore. Gives up a hit. Dave Roberts comes out. He had thrown in excess of 112 pitches, which was a lot. Took him off. Unbelievable. Standing ovation from the Oriole fans. And obviously everybody comes out of the Dodger dugout. Dave Roberts signals to the bullpen. Bullpen comes in. Ball, glove, can of gasoline. Blake Trinan just melted down on the mound. And then Tanner Scott gave up the game-winning hit in the ninth inning. From an 8 2/3 inning no-hit game to another bullpen meltdown loss. That's what Dodger baseball has become. You can't trust anybody. The mental state of this team is just got to be really bad. On top of that, they lost both their catchers. Will Smith's got a bruised hand from a foul ball. They hope he'll be back this week. The x-rays came back negative. Dalton Rushing went down. I thought he'd fractured his kneecap on a really bad foul ball. He's on the disabled list. So not only don't they have anybody in the bullpen they can trust, now they're going to a third-string minor league catcher here. Still got problems in left field with Michael Conforto hitting 183. What a $17 million bad investment that's turned out to be. And Teoscar Hernandez, who saved him last year with his power bat, is playing right field and very poorly. And they can't take him out of the lineup because they need the bat. But, geez, they can't tolerate what's going on in the outfield. And now Tyler Glasnow's back has flared up on him again after all these good pitching outings since coming off the disabled list. Only saving grace, we believe Max Muncy is being activated. He, of course, is coming off the oblique injury. He's been on the disabled list. Did rehab at Oklahoma City for 3 games. They're going to bring him back. I think he might be in the lineup tonight against Cincinnati. But I can't trust the Padres starting pitching going to postseason. I surely can't trust the Dodger bullpen going to postseason. So, John Riley, which is driving you more crazy? What the Friars are doing or what Dodger Blues doing?
Well, I've been pulling my hair out with the Padres, but the Dodgers lately have been unbelievable in terms of crazy stuff. Because I was watching that Yamamoto no-hitter. I was on the MLB Network, the live look-in, and we'll see what's going on. And then you're texting me, hey, check it out. They're in the 7th inning, the 8th inning. And they got to the 9th inning, and I was thinking, okay, 2 outs, he's got it. And then, what was the kid? Holiday, comes up and hits the home run. You're like, oh, okay, that was a bummer. But clearly, they pull him. He had 110 pitches. I figure, okay, they're going to bring someone else in. They only need one more out. Nobody's on base. Game over. I turned it off. I went to some other game. And then you're texting me 20 minutes later, like they did it again. This time it was Tanner Scott who imploded. And I'm like, oh, my God. I mean, it's just brutal. I mean, if you're a Dodger fan and, potentially losing Will Smith, I mean, that guy's hella good. He reminds me of Sid from the Toy Story movies. You ever remember that young boy that was in there? So, whenever he's batting, my wife and I are like, we hate Sid, But so missing him catching, I mean, that's a huge loss.
Well, he's also hitting 296.
Yeah, he's been batting like 3 and 4 throughout the year. So, Dodger fans, there's some really clever social media comments from Dodger fans, kind of sort of saying we're going crazy, but at least the Padres are losing too, and we're the Dodger fans are sort of commiserating in their own misery, to a degree. There was my wife saw one tweet that says, yeah, well, it was from a Dodger fan. He goes, yeah, we lose too, but we do it better than Padre fans. So it's crazy. So tonight for the Padres, it's Yu Darvish. Okay, let's see what he can do. Let's see if he can put this whole thing together. What did you think about Cronenworth playing shortstop?
I guess it's better than Jackson Merrill because Mike Schills got really upset about questions from the media about Jackson Merrill. And Jackson Merrill said, I'll do it in a minute.
Oh, yeah.
So I mean, Jake's going to give you what Jake's going to give you, and we go from there because there is no Xander Bogaerts, and Iglesias has stopped hitting. So we'll see. They're juggling the lineup right now. But that's the least of their problems. This front end of this rotation, once Pivetta has been given the ball, there's no consistency at 2, 3, 4, and 5. In the rotation. So we got 3 weeks left. So you're a Dodger fan, you're a Padre fan. The Fans Forum chat box is open. Make a statement, tell us, ask a question. Now, we're not done with this specific topic because we decided we're going to put something up here on the screen. We want you to look at it, and then we want you to go on Fans Forum and respond. They both have 19 left. Look at the makeup of the schedule and tell us who has the easier schedule? I would have normally said the Dodgers, but all of a sudden, San Francisco's playing better ball, and they got 7 left against them. They got 3 with Philadelphia, which is in a fight for its life in the National League East, and they close that on the road in Seattle, which was in a war for first place in the American League West. I think the Dodgers suddenly, because of the Giants playing so much better, coupled with Philly and Seattle, that schedule is pretty tough. In terms of the Padres, Cincinnati's run out of players. They get 4 at home with Colorado. Do have to go to New York. Now, a week ago, New York was on a stretch where they had won 10 of 12, and all of a sudden they started losing again. They do get Milwaukee at the back end, and that's here. Milwaukee will have clinched everything by that point in time. So at the end of the day, I think suddenly the Dodgers have a much tougher schedule than the Padres do. John, leave that up there. Go ahead. You comment on what you see.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at those at symbols. So I see 3 road series for the Dodgers, but only 2 for the Padres. And you're going to get Milwaukee at the end, but at least that's at home. And Milwaukee maybe will be on cruise control by then, you know, if all goes well for them in the NL Central. I remember in the early part of the year, when the season started, we were looking at that last series, Padres-Diamondbacks, thinking that would be a fight for a playoff spot, but that's not turned out to be that. But I agree with you. I think right now that Padre run looks a little bit easier than the Dodgers.
Okay, so you're a baseball fan. Those are the remaining 19. They both got 19. It's going to be interesting. But you can't believe in anything. Who do you believe for the Dodgers? Do you believe the gold standard rotation? Do you believe the Dodgers are going to suddenly start hitting again like they did the first month of the season? Do you believe in the Padres starting rotation? And do you believe the Padres are going to start hitting home runs when they haven't hit home runs at all? If the Pirates were not in Major League Baseball, the Padres would be last in home runs in MLB this season, which is a stunning statistic.
Yeah, I mean, because Merrill and Tatis have been way down.
Yep. So feel free. Fans Forum chat box is open. Jump on board. Who has the tougher schedule, the easier schedule going forward? 19 left for both of these teams as we head into the final 3 weeks of the season. Yeah, fight to the death between the Dodgers and the Padres. John, other baseball notes.
Yeah, Davey Johnson, we lost a good one.
Yeah, let's just talk about this. He passed away at the age of 82. He had really backed away from the scene in baseball after his last managerial job. He managed 5 teams. He won 1,372 games over the course of his career, which is that puts him inside the top 10 in all-time wins. Best job, 6 years with the New York Mets. 595 wins in the course of his career with just the New York Mets. Obviously managed the Orioles to great success. Was in Cincinnati, was in Washington, and did a tour of duty with the Dodgers during some of the tough ownership times there. I think the most unique job that he did, think about this. He managed a group of young guys with the New York Mets. Young guys running the streets. New York, Big Apple, Strawberry, Gooden, Dykstra. Wow. Always in trouble. Keith Hernandez, Sid Fernandez, Ron Darling, Gary Carter. I mean, there were some really unique personalities, and a whole pile of those guys had problems off the field. Davey Johnson's response was, if you do baseball in my clubhouse and on my field the way I want you to do baseball, I don't worry about anything else you're doing when you're not doing baseball. That's how he operated. And he had a really good run with the New York Mets. I asked an agent over the weekend, give me a description of Davey Johnson. And the agent's response was, my clubhouse. He got himself fired from jobs because he told the general managers, stay out of my clubhouse. He had a bond with players, which was really unique. The other thing was he did analytics before anybody did analytics. He devised a computerized system very early in the day of baseball of analyzing starting lineups. He never let on how it worked, etc. But I was told by an agent that he was forward-thinking in an old-school style of baseball. He was analytics before there was analytics. So Interesting gentleman, passed away at the age of 82. I mean, renowned in New York, obviously highly, highly respected with the Baltimore Orioles, but he was his own man. My clubhouse. That's what got him fired from the New York Mets job finally, despite all that great success, is he told that general manager, this is my clubhouse. You're not coming in my clubhouse dealing with my players. So, interesting personality.
Yeah, I think a lot of baseball fans think of that 86 Mets team and all the drama that went around with that championship run. But I have kind of a weird connection with Davey Johnson because I remember as a kid I had his baseball card.
Sure.
And he, at the time, was playing for the Braves.
He had 43 home runs one year.
That's it. Yeah, see, and I remember, like, you know, when the baseball card shows all the stats, and there's usually like a 2-sentence blurb about, like, a bio comment about them. And it was... He was one of the only team that had 3 guys that hit more than 40 home runs in a season.
Wow.
And it was Hank Aaron, Davey Johnson, and Darrell Evans. And what made that stick for me is that eventually, you know, I was a Giants fan as a kid, and Darrell Evans came to play for the Giants. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's the guy with Hank Aaron and Davey Johnson. And so that was always who I thought of Davey Johnson. Then he has the great run as a manager. But, yeah, he's in his 80s, really. So, you know.
Davey Johnson credited Hank Aaron with adjusting his swing to put more power in his stroke. And that's how he hit 43 home runs that season. He'd never done it before, really never ever did it again.
Okay, yeah, right on. You know, yeah, it's a good teammate to have.
Yeah, very much so. Mm-hmm. That's all things baseball. So baseball this week is talking, mourning, and remembering Davey Johnson. Very unique personality. That's all things baseball. You got a comment? Fans Forum chat box is open. Pile in here. Tell us what you think. We go from that opening weekend of the NFL football season. Boy, have we got a lot to cover.
We do. And with the Chargers-Chiefs game in Brazil was something.
Friday night. Think I'm catching some crap over this statement. End of an era in the AFC West. The Chargers took apart the Kansas City Chiefs. That was a statement victory for Justin Herbert. Throws for 318, rushes for 36. He outgunned Patrick Mahomes. Mahomes carried that thing physically and emotionally on his back, just didn't have a lot of help. Mahomes threw for 258. He ran for 56. Quentin Johnston, at least on one game this season, that was pretty dominant for him. 2 touchdown catches. Let's just see if he can continue to do that. Ladd McConkey, the return of Keenan Allen, between them, they caught 13 passes, and they also had some big gains when they threw to the tight ends, and that's what these tight ends are going to be part of. John Alt, starting left tackle, he made Chris Davis, the defensive tackle, disappear.
Cool.
Did you ever see Chris Davis's name mentioned at all during the course of that Friday night game? No.
Not really.
And the young running back, Omani Hampton, north-south runner, pounded, bounced off people, showed balance, did not fumble the football, didn't bust anything, but he wound up with about 50-plus yards rushing. He was consistent and a physical force. I think the Chargers got a little bit lucky there. Teair Tart, I thought, should have been thrown out of the game. I don't care that was an open hand slap to the face mask of Travis Kelce, who got under his skin. That was an attempt to blow. I thought he should have been ejected. Tart came back and deflected 3 critical passes in the course of that game, most of them in the second half. Kansas City, please tell me why Jawan Taylor is still your right tackle. 4 more penalties. Most penalized right tackle in the league the last 2 years. Why is Andy Reid still playing this guy? Big guy, big stiff. I thought Josh Simmons hung up really well, handled the blitz well at left tackle, the ex-Aztec Ohio Stater. Chiefs, though, no running game whatsoever. I thought the play calling was weird. How can you have Travis Kelce going against Charger linebackers who historically don't do well in coverage, and you only target him twice in the first half of the game?
That was weird.
That made no sense to me at all. Felt really bad on that first snap from scrimmage when Xavier Worthy, who is their big play wide receiver, went down with what is now a dislocated shoulder. But you know what? They ran a pick play, and Worthy put his head down. He ran into Kelce. He ran into his own guy on an illegal play, and he got hurt there. So he got taken out by friendly fire. I don't know where Steve Spagnuolo's mind was. You had a Charger offensive line that had so many different moving parts, and the right guard was in and out of the game because he was sick. Where was the blitz package? I don't understand what Spagnuolo was doing, because when he caused Herbert trouble the last couple of years, it's because he sent people. He stopped that at halftime, and the game totally got away from them. So I think Kansas City is really a team in trouble, and I don't know how Andy Reid's going to gather this thing back. He's got Mahomes, there's no doubt about it. But there's so many other deficiencies now with this team that they're just a team with a really good quarterback rather than elite team. Agree or disagree? Go ahead. Podium is yours, because here come Chief fans, here come Charger fans, and fans from the right side of our screen is blowing up with opinions. Go ahead.
Quentin Johnson, man, had a day. You know, I mean, we weren't sure if he was going to be able to hold on any passes. He had a couple of touchdowns, and you're thinking maybe he's turning the corner. What do you think?
Only counts as one. Last time I checked, that's only one win in the standing, just one.
But still, I mean, we never saw any of that from him last year. We saw all the potential. So I'm like, okay, good. Quentin Johnson making some progress. You know, and Mahomes is still Mahomes. Like, you know, they still have those like 3rd and 9. He drops back. Everyone's covered, and then he knows how to dart and dash and accelerate and decelerate and get like 16 yards on a 3rd and 9.
And put the shoulder down and blast the cornerback going out of bounds.
That's right. Everyone's talking about the double standard there.
Well, he did that intentionally. I think, to try to ignite his team. And he ran over 2 cornerbacks twice on scrambles. And then Kelsey did the exact same thing on a pass over the middle. I thought, oh, my God, here comes Kansas City. He's going to light a fuse. But it didn't happen because they couldn't do anything else. It could not accomplish anything else.
Yeah, it was a wild game. I think the Chiefs were probably favored in that.
Yep.
So the Chargers, a big statement win. You know, they're finally getting over a little bit on the Chiefs. Is this the downhill fall of the Chiefs? Maybe. I mean, last year they were just barely winning all their games, right? Like at the last second.
And in Super Bowl Sunday, added up pretty shabby.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, it's kind of like a house of cards that might fall. And by the way, that game in Brazil was pretty cool. You know, I mean, you saw the fans there wearing all sorts of different NFL jerseys. Everyone seemed to be pretty fired up for the game. I mean, good on the NFL for going there.
And they had a TV rating of 17.7 million, which is really good. Now, that was on YouTube, and it was free, though. It was not streaming. The streaming we had at the end of last season, playoffs, and on, I think, Christmas Day, they averaged 14.4 million viewers. This was 17.7 million.
Well, yeah, we probably because it's free, you know. But yeah, and then besides, I think that opens it up to a much bigger worldwide audience too.
Yep.
You know, so good on the NFL for all this sort of experimentation.
Okay, so the question of the day right now in the Fans Forum chat box, just jump on YouTube, jump whatever social platform you are. You were over in Kansas City, changing the guard in the AFC West, or does it just count as one game? But it's important because it was one game against the top team in the division. So we'll see where this goes. Now, there are so many other storylines around the NFL open weekend. John, let's just kind of talk team by team, game by game.
Game by game, team by team. There were some great games over the weekend.
Let's start, first of all, with Philadelphia. The Eagles, very impressive win against the Cowboys. Cowboys played really well that Thursday night game. Dallas was athletically very active. Dak Prescott looks really different. They threw the ball down the field. CeeDee Lamb made some amazing catches. I was a little surprised they didn't go more to George Pickens. I think he had only 3 catches. I know there's a lot written at the end that CeeDee Lamb dropped 2 on the final possession as they were trying to get in position to win the game. But the 2 catches he made were on deep throws. One, he had run a long route up, in, across, and the ball was right there. But he was going 100 miles an hour trying to maintain his balance. It tipped off his fingers. The other one, there was a collision just as the ball got there. I thought Lamb played well. They ran the ball much better than I thought they did. And again, Dallas has added running back, so maybe they're going to be better offensively. And even though there was no Micah Parsons, I thought their defense played really fast and really hard. So Dallas hung in there, but Philadelphia is Philadelphia, and Jalen Hurts. I mean, there's no doubt the Cowboys loaded the line to try to box in Saquon Barkley, but Hurts kept busting plays on him. He had so many runs. It was tremendously impressive. So Philadelphia is still the champion. Dallas played a lot better than I thought. Second one was the Rams. Rams-Houston. I knew this would be ugly because you had two defenses going after each other's quarterbacks. But at the end of the day, Rams won the slugfest. Matthew Stafford throws for 245 under enormous pressure and a touchdown. Puka Nacua, they couldn't cover him. 10 catches, 230. Rams defense, 3 sacks, pick, fumble recovery. And then Braden Fisk, of course, came up with a massive recovery at the 22-yard line right at the end of the game. Rams are for real. Houston, close, but they're not right now at the Rams level. Then we got what happened on Sunday Night Football. The Baltimore Ravens. Never in my wildest dreams would I have ever thought I'd see a John Harbaugh team collapse the way they did, giving up 16 points in the final 4 minutes of the game. And Josh Allen had his way. Captain comeback. Allen throws for 394 against Harbaugh's defense. That was a coming-out party for the kid receiver Keon Coleman. He had 8 for 112. The ex-Charger Josh Palmer caught 5.
Yeah, and a big one late.
Yeah. Lamar Jackson, he was brilliant early. Didn't get it done late, though. 280 yards passing. Derrick Henry, just stiff-arming everybody. Now, he ran for 169. The bulk of that was in the first half. Zay Flowers caught 7 for 134. Bills had 497 yards in offense against the Ravens defense, and Baltimore had 433. They had almost like 950 yards combined. What a great game that was. But that's got to be just crushing to the Baltimore Ravens to have this game in their pocket in Buffalo, which is a tough place to play, and let it get away from them. Next game was Green Bay. I am not going to say, I told you so, but I told you so. Micah Parsons, you see him chasing down people?
Yeah.
He was playing like he was fired out of a rocket. Green Bay just put all kinds of heat and all kinds of pressure as they really pasted the Lions, 27-13. They put on a clinic on defense. How about these numbers? And I know you don't like stats, but 4 sacks, 9 tackles for losses, 9 hits on quarterbacks by Green Bay's defense.
Wow.
Jordan Love threw for 188 and a couple of scores. Jared Goff threw for yardage, took hits, no touchdown passes at all. Talking about statement games, and we talked about the Micah Parsons trade was going to change the chemistry of things in the NFC North Black and Blue division. That was a statement game win over the Detroit Lions. Raider Nation in New England. I'm not sure whether we view this as the coming out of all things Geno Smith under Pete Carroll, or whether we view this as Mike Vrabel's team has a lot of new parts and played really sloppy and didn't get the job done. But at the end of the day, Geno Smith throws for 362, a touchdown, and an interception. And he did all that while he was getting sacked 4 times. His tight end, Brock Bowers, caught 5 for 103, but he suffered a knee injury later in the game. We don't know the extent of it. He took a blow up on the quad area, running down the sideline, not on the knee directly, on the quad, and wobbled out of bounds. So we don't know whether he sprained something, whether he tore meniscus. We'll find out probably late this afternoon into the evening. Jacoby Myers had 8 catches for almost 100 yards. Drake May threw for a ton, but Drake May got sacked 4 times. Thank you, Max Crosby. He was everywhere. That was a really impressive debut game for the Raiders in Foxborough, and everybody thought Vrabel's team was going to show up and they're going to be tough and violent, and instead they showed up and they were kind of sloppy. A lot of criticism in Boston. Cincinnati went into Cleveland. This is I'm a big numbers guy. This is a surprise story. Joe Burrow threw for 113 yards, and they won.
That's all?
That's all. Myles Garrett and those guys are chasing him and sacking him and getting turnovers. Joe Burrow threw for 113. The Bengals had 141 yards total offense.
Really?
And they won in Cleveland.
Wow.
Joe Flacco threw for 290, but he also threw 2 interceptions, took a bunch of sacks along the way. And the Browns missed a field goal, missed a PAT at the end of the game. That's why they wound up losing that one 17-60. But if you're going to ask me, would this ever happen? Joe Burrow threw for 113 in the game. I said, nah,
no
not
way.
up in Cleveland, but he did. Miami They go to Indianapolis, and they got killed. 33-8 final score. Daniel Jones, the starting quarterback in place of Anthony Richardson, steady as she goes. Down the field, 272 and a touchdown. Indy ran for 156. They stampeded on the Miami defense. Tyler Warren, the rookie from Penn State, 7 catches for 76 yards. Tua, 2 picks, a fumble, 3 sacks. And at halftime, I'm surprised the owner did not come out of the booth and fire Mike McDaniels. At halftime, Miami had 43 yards in offense.
What?
And on the sidelines, Tyreek Hill was throwing tantrums. This thing is going to implode sooner than later in Miami. Pittsburgh, how about old dog? Aaron Rodgers, now he doesn't look like he's got a lot of mobility in the pocket, and they didn't run the ball very well. But he threw 4 touchdown passes. His receivers were getting open. His tight ends were getting open. Pittsburgh posted the victory over the New York Jets in a very emotional game. And Chris Boswell hit a 60-yard field goal at the end that got them the win. But I'll tell you, there's still gas left in the tank for Rodgers. He threw for 244, and they were blitzing the hell out of him. But he stayed in there long enough to make plays. He threw 4 touchdown passes. That was impressive. The surprise to me was San Francisco winning in Seattle. Now, Brock Purdy put on a show, 277, couple of touchdowns. His young wide receiver, Ricky Pearsall, had 4 catches for 108. Niners defense, man, they chased Sam Darnold all over the place. 2 fumbles, bunch of sacks. Sam Darnold threw for only 150 yards and no touchdowns in his debut in Seattle. So that's now 3 straight games Sam Darnold has played really poorly after last year's great season in Minnesota. What happened at the end, what happened in the playoffs, what happened in the first game in Seattle. They're talking about that. And in Denver, they beat Tennessee. Broncos defense, number 1 ranked defense. 6 sacks, 6 tackles for losses. Bo Nix didn't have a great game. They exposed him. Tennessee's defense caused him problems. Bo Nix threw a couple of picks, had a fumble also. But at the same time, Cam Ward just struggled. Threw for 112, no scores at all. He couldn't even manage the game. He was under such heat. So that's the first weekend in the NFL. Winners win. Unbelievable comeback last night by Buffalo. Old dog does what he does. Trouble coming in Miami. Go ahead, John. The floor is yours. Pick a team, pick a game you watched, followed. Give me a comment.
Yeah, there's so many good games over the weekend. I mean, it was just a great lineup. So just a few comments. That Ravens-Bills game was fantastic. It was so entertaining. and again, you know, I've made the comment before about Justin Herbert reminding me of Michelangelo's David, you know, this perfect athletic specimen. Josh Allen is that too. And when you see Josh Allen hitting shot bombs downfield, that ball is like a perfect trajectory. It just looks like art, you know, when that ball is flowing through the air. But Derrick Henry was in beast mode. That dude was breaking tackles, running, 50-plus yards. I mean, it was it was amazing. So it was a great game, and I'm happy for Josh Allen, because of his upbringing, and he wasn't on the radar of big D1 schools, and he came out of high school. So I like seeing him have success. Pete Carroll is a difference maker in Las Vegas, don't you think?
Well, Geno Smith's a difference maker, too. Now, Ashton Jeanty did nothing. There's no holes. This offensive line is still a problem.
Well, I just think that the whole energy is different when Pete Carroll is there. I mean, compared to who was that last coach that we had? That
Antonio Pierce.
Antonio Pierce, who always kind of looked
street guy.
Yeah. Pete Carroll is totally different.
I hope Brock Bowers does not have a major knee injury.
Yeah,
because he's a major part to that package.
Geez, the 2 tight ends on that team are unbelievable.
Yeah.
The Steelers game was interesting. For number one, Justin Fields played a lot better than I expected. He did all right. But to your point, you said that Aaron Rodgers throws off that back foot, a lot. And remember, they usually condemn that. Quarterback coaches, TV commentators said, "Oh, don't throw it off your back foot. You're going to get intercepted." And that's all Aaron Rodgers ever did.
Well, they were blitzing, which meant single coverage on his receivers, and his receivers were running great routes and getting open. And, the Jets never got out of the blitz. Did they pressure Rodgers? Yes. And Rodgers struggled with bodies around him moving. But yet there were some times he hung in there, knew he was going to get popped, but he saw his guys crossing the field, beating single coverage, and he was throwing lollipops, and guys are just running under it.
Yeah.
I was very impressed.
What's his name? DK Metcalf?
Yeah.
I mean, he looked good.
Yeah, big brute of a wide receiver, and he's got the 2 tight ends. And this young kid, Austin, was beating the coverage all the time. You're going to blitz? No problem. One-on-one, me in that corner, good night now.
Good night now. So, it was interesting watching all these games. Like, the schedule makers did a great job.
Well, it's all about TV ratings the first week. I bet the TV numbers are going to be through the roof.
Oh, for sure.
Towards the moon. That's all things NFL. That's the first half of this podcast. This podcast is brought to you by DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Centers. We got 9 locations to serve you. I like to use the word checkbox. Check off this box about what DIXIELINE means to you. And that could be if you're going to renovate the kitchen. You want to renovate, do something in the bathroom. Whether you want to go into the man cave and put up bookcases, whether it's new windows or doors, which we have both used DIXIELINE for, or whether it's just construction on the back patio. John, they got it all.
They do have it all, and one of the things that's kind of neat is they got all kinds of tools there, too. You go walk up and down the aisle, talk to some of your friends there at DIXIELINE. The employees have been, in the contractor trade, a lot of them. They know their stuff. So if you're a do-it-yourself homeowner, or maybe you're a builder or a contractor and need to get some new tools, check out there's 8 retail stores here in San Diego County, plus the design studio that's in Solana Beach. And then, oh, by the way, they just opened up another lumber yard up in Dana Point. So great people, 100 years in San Diego, DIXIELINE Lumber for homeowners, builders, contractors, they got the good stuff.
Okay, just a reminder, when we're done putting topics on the table, because we do sports talk the way it should be done, topics, opinions, we open it up to you. If this were sports talk radio, I would say get off your ass and get on the phone. Instead, because we're on a brand new medium, we want you to join this podcast, people, by joining us in the Fans Forum chat box. And, John, how does that work?
Hacksaw going digital. Okay, so if you have a question or comment, we see a lot of folks here that are already piling. A lot of our good friends, Angel and Callan, but I see Royal Sports. That's a new name. I see Angel and Casey and Emmanuel and who else? John. That's a new John I've never seen before. Showtime is in there. So is Todd. So if you got a question or comment in the world of sports, drop your take in the live chat on Facebook, X, or YouTube. Will get you involved.
Reminder, if you like sports, I want you to check my website. I write on it every day. Make it a point. First thing every morning. Punch it up, LeeHacksawHamilton.com. You won't believe the volume of information about every sport there is. It's there first thing every morning. Want you to join my social media team, Twitter All-Star, I call it, on X. Just type in my name, Lee Hacksaw Hamilton. Hit the follow button. That way you get to participate in all the Fans Forum questions I pose. I usually post those things late in the evening. Also want you to share. Tell everybody we do Mondays at 1:30, Thursdays at 1:30. Subscribe. When you subscribe, you will get the alert every time we put new videos up on the YouTube channel, which we do quite often. Now, a program note. We've got travel issues this weekend. Thursday, instead of being on at 1:30, Thursday, we're going to experiment. Coffee and donuts with the dummies. We're going to do Thursday's podcast at 9 a.m. on the live stream. Kind of an experiment to see what a different starting time would be like for you. So join us this Thursday only, Thursday at 9 a.m. Lots of reasons for you to be on this podcast, and, of course, invite you to tell all your friends. Okay, John, we move on. Second half. Here we go.
Here we go. Some Southern California college football.
Let's talk about what happened over the weekend, and we'll start with the Aztecs, and they got walloped at Washington State. San Diego State got beat at their own game. Speed kills. Washington State just ignited their jets, and they did things offensively that they had not done in the first game against Idaho, and they torched the Aztecs. And the Aztecs did some things that have now become commonplace. Long droughts with the offense where they couldn't move the ball. All of a sudden, chunk plays against their defense, and the whole thing caved in as San Diego State wound up losing. They gave up 400-plus yards to Washington State. Cougars scored 29 points in a row after the Aztecs had taken an early lead. Cougar defense had 3 sacks, 7 tackles for losses. Jaden Denegal just really staggered. End of the day, We need patience with young quarterback. That's the only explanation. The only way he's going to get better is he's got to take all these reps, go through the fires of hell at quarterback, and learn from it. So he's got this year, he's got next year. You see a little bit of flashes, but then you see an awful lot of inertia too. He just really struggled. John, they had 6 possessions in a row. They had 1 first down.
Yeah.
In the 6 possessions, they ran only 20 plays, and they had only 35 total yards in 6 possessions. They got to get better. They got to get more consistent. He has to be better in terms of making the right decisions along the way. He had a 3rd down opportunity where he could have run the football and gotten the first down, kept the chains moving. Instead, he stayed in the pocket and threw a football into coverage. Boom. 4th down, lose it. Washington State goes down and scores. He also took a safety in his own end zone. That was a blown blocking assignment, but it was on the kid. Don't take the sack in the end zone. Throw the ball away. Learning curve. I asked Sean Lewis today at his Monday press briefing to describe where he is emotionally. He says, we are a good team. We had a bad night. And he used the exact same word I did as it relates to Jaden Denegal. Patience. This is the guy that they've tied their future to, and they're just going to work on it. But obviously they got to get better offensively, and they got to quit giving up chunk plays defensively. Because the Washington State loss looked like the last 6 games of last season when the defense totally caved in. Now, they got a bye week. Strange time to have a bye week, but they have a bye week. They're off for 14 days before they play the Cal Golden Bears. His closing comment as he got up to leave the press conference today, I believe. That's what the coach had to say. You're an Aztec fan, friend, and alum. Feel free to respond. Fans Forum chat box is open. USC. Did you know they moved to number 1 in the rankings? Were you aware of that? Number 1 in 1AA football.
Oh, okay. All right.
They are still not ranked inside the top 25 despite being 2-0 after 2 dominant wins because they played 1AA teams.
Cupcakes.
They blitzed Georgia Southern 59-20 at the Coliseum. Jaden Miava, the quarterback, throws for 412 and 4 touchdowns. Hit bombs of 62 and 74 yards in that win. JUCO transfer running back Wyman Jordan, 167 yards rushing. For the 2nd week in a row, Troy had over 700 yards in offense. They wound up with 755. Just kept the starters in, just piled it on. So the 1AA poll isn't out, but USC should be number 1 in the country because they beat Missouri State and they beat Georgia Southern 1AA teams. Now, Lincoln Riley is a firm belief this is a much better roster. We'll find out because they go to Purdue, get on the plane, and they play their first Big Ten game. UCLA looks totally lost. Send out a search party. They're playing no defense at all. UCLA got whacked by UNLV of the Mountain West Conference. When in the history of college football did you think that was ever possible? At one point in the 2nd quarter on Saturday, the Rebels led the Bruins 23-0. Now, UCLA tried to come back. They had 429 yards in the offense in the loss. Too little, too late. The defense is a disgrace. This is coming on the heels of them getting drilled by 33 at home. I have not met a UCLA alum that believes Deshaun Foster should be the head coach. But at this point, got this multi-year contract. We'll see. UCLA plays another non-conference cupcake. They get New Mexico this weekend, and then they go on the road, UCLA does, and starts to play on the road in the Big Ten. So, John, you want to comment? Aztecs, 1AA, pollster, UCLA.
Well, you know, the Aztec game, I watched that, and they had a 7-0 lead, and Denegal hit that touchdown pass to Bostic, and I'm thinking, okay, this Bostic kid's looking pretty good. Yep. And nice to see a throw downfield for a touchdown. I didn't see a lot of those last year, and I'm feeling some hope. Okay, and then this game is progressing, and Washington State comes back, and because I knew this would be a competitive game, I figured it was a 50-50 game, and then the Aztecs were only down by 3, and then they took the safety, and then they had to punt it to give possession back, and then they marched back down, like a 9-point swing.
Yeah.
And going into halftime, the momentum was screwed. I mean, that was a winnable game, and I don't understand why it didn't work. I mean, you were mentioning before, I think maybe when we were doing the recording of the commentaries, about social media was going bananas. Aztec for Life fan on X were just furious and angry, and frankly, they were out for blood. I don't know.
I've never seen that type of criticism against any coach at San Diego State like I've seen in the last 48 hours since Saturday night. Aztec for Life. There can't be that many of them because they don't come to games. So what right do they have to call for the head of this head coach?
I know. I mean, I don't know. I mean, there were some questionable calls. Some of these, going forward on 4th down, in some cases 4th and a little bit too long. But I'm thinking, okay, he's kind of aggressive. He's kind of gambler, swashbuckling, Sean Lewis. I'm like, okay. But every one of those reaches ended up biting him in the butt, Well,
he answered that question specifically today. And he said, if I'm sitting here at 4th and 5 in a game that's kind of lopsided, and I decide to punt it away, he says, that's going against the grain of who I am and what we stand for,
okay.
Which is ultra aggressive. We're going to go for it. Now, they're not getting it done right now, but that reverts back to kid quarterback.
Okay.
So that reverts back to I'm invoking, pulling out of my pocket the word patience. Let's just give Jaden Denegal a chunk of time. Aztec fan, feel free to respond to that. You have any critique of the scheduling at USC?
Yeah, I mean, it's just, that's why I have to ask you, who did they play again? Because I don't keep track of the 1AA guys. You try to think about what are the identities of these. I mean, we're sort of kind of figuring out the identity of San Diego State, or at least what they want to be, which is Aztec fast. What is Lincoln Riley and Deshaun Foster? What are they statements for their identities?
Well, Lincoln Riley is we got all these athletes and we're going to get them ready to go play in the Big Ten and watch what we're going to do. At least he has on his resume what he did at Oklahoma, what he did with Caleb Williams that first year before everybody got hurt, and it was the quarterback against the world. Last year was a bit of a disaster. So, and the identity at UCLA is there's nothing that makes sense to me at all. Deshaun Foster looks absolutely in over his head as a head coach. His roster is deplorable on defense, and poor Bruins fan. And there's nobody going to the Rose Bowl. There was a sidebar story. The LA Times over the weekend did this investigative piece about them announcing how many are going to the games. They announced 37 and there were 25. And they had games at the end of last year where they announced 25 and there were 12. 12,000 in the 77,000-seat Rose Bowl.
It's fraud.
Yeah, the credibility of all things around the UCLA program is just suffering.
UCLA is such a distinguished academic institution.
Sure.
So why in the hell is this the athletics department operating and doing business this way?
I think the athletic director needs to be held accountable too. In addition to Deshaun Foster, this looks terrible to me. So, Aztec fans, friends, and alum. Aztec for Life. You're kidding me with that one. Join us. Fans Forum chat box is open. Give us a response. You're a Trojan, you're a Bruins fan. Feel free. A couple other topics on the table before we let you take over this podcast. Let's talk about other games, other places. This made no sense to me, but I'll tell you why it makes sense. Ohio State won 70-0 against Grambling. Why would you schedule Grambling? Well, there were about 4 schools this past weekend that scheduled schools from the historically black colleges and universities. They did it to financially help them out. I don't know what the payday to Grambling was, but I bet it's probably $300,000 to $400,000 to go in there. They did it. South Carolina did it. Miami did it. It's important that you help those black schools in the SWAC who are dirt poor. But that was hard to watch. Gremlin's kids go in there and get killed, 70-0. Julian Sayin, the freshman quarterback, threw for 306 and 4 touchdowns. Buckeyes, why are you leaving your starters in for such a long period of time in a blowout game? 651 yards in offense, but that's why Ohio State paid Grambling. Oregon, this was real payback. Mike Gundy, yap. He spent the whole week at press conferences at Oklahoma State talking about Oregon, talking about Nike's resources given to the Oregon Ducks, talking about facilities, etc. Dan Lanning left his starters in, and they beat Oklahoma State 69-3.
Whoa.
Just whacked them. And I tell you, Gundy's got problems at Oklahoma State. He's already been forced to take a pay cut, give money back. His program, I think, is 1-11 now, dating back to middle of last season. Gundy's got some real credibility problems. He just talks and talks and talks. Dante Moore, Oregon quarterback, coming out party 263 passing. They had 631 yards in offense, and Lanning left his starters until late in the fourth quarter to respond to all the insults that Mike Gundy made. Utah, 63-9 win over Cal Poly. Ouch, but you would expect that playing a smaller Division I team. How about the quarterback, Devin Dampier? He's the kid that was in New Mexico last year. Led an offense that had 518 yards. Utah is the real deal.
Wow.
And the Dampier kid has made a big difference. And maybe the surprise game of the weekend, there were not a lot of great matchups. Fresno State ran the ball down Oregon State's throat and beat them 36-27. Dogs had almost 200 yards on the ground. Oregon State's quarterback, who is a transfer from Duke, Malik Murphy, he can throw it all over the place. Malik Murphy threw for 372 and 4 touchdowns, but they didn't play a bit of defense. Oregon State gave up 520 yards defensively. So Fresno State, statement game, Bulldogs going into the Pac-12, and they do this to a vested Pac-12 school. I mean, they just punished Oregon State. And a lot of unhappy people up in Corvallis, Oregon right now. So those are some of the other games around college football.
Yeah, the schedule wasn't as interesting as week one, but just a couple of quick shout-outs. Cool to have Grambling State out there with Ohio State, because the two marching bands, you know, and I think they had a cooperative halftime show, and then after the game, they had like a jam session amongst both squads.
It was cool.
And so I'm happy for them there. The Fresno State Oregon State game, I watched most of that, and the Oregon State's like special teams completely just blew up. Yeah. You know, they were down to like they lost their 2 long snappers. The third guy could barely snap, and he'd done it for the first time that day. And they just kept fumbling and bumbling in their special teams, and it ended up giving Fresno State the chance to win. And it was cool because this is like the coming together of the Pac-12 and the vision. So maybe some new rivalries are forming.
I mean, for Fresno State to run for 200, almost 200 against Oregon State, wow. Yeah. Trent Bray, the Oregon State coach, is under a lot of heat up there in the Pacific Northwest.
He looked pissed.
Oh, really bad time. So that's all things college football. Feel free if you want to add some comments. Fans Forum chat box is open. Let's talk some hoops.
Hoops? This has got some WNBA news.
Yeah. Her name is Angel Reese. She's the one on the left-hand side. She is a really good player on a really bad team, Chicago Sky, and she got suspended. She had a meltdown at a press conference, and she ripped her teammates. She ripped the front office of the Chicago Sky. Her comments are, we need a point guard. Comments, we need to get some great players in on this roster. Comments, I am not going to settle for the same bleep every year in Chicago. And by the way, I am not a 16-31 player. That's the Chicago record. She got suspended by the organization. Angel, yap. This really bad. Caitlin Clark is done for the season, Indiana Fever. She had 3 different injuries. She might be facing surgery. They're not sure. It's a chronic groin injury. She was out 7 weeks, and they finally made the determination with a week to go on the season she can't practice, and we're not even going to risk trying to play her in postseason play. It's too bad because the TV ratings of the WNBA have gone down like 33% since she's been out. They're still watching the games because there's still a lot of great players, you know, the one in Dallas and obviously the one in Chicago and a few other places, but so I don't know whether they're going to have to perform surgery, but Caitlin Clark has got this groin problem, just never healed because she aggravated it a second time. So that's all things WNBA.
Yep, I like we're covering the WNBA. Yeah. You know, and like when I'm channel surfing on a Saturday morning, sometimes it'll pop up, and I'm like, oh, yeah. You know, because there's some interesting characters in the WNBA.
It's called personalities.
Yeah, and Angel Reese is definitely one of them. And, you know, she's young. You know, it's kind of like when I just think about like the post-game interviews of like Manny Machado on the Padres, and he's got the whole pro, shtick down when he's talking to the media.
Like coach speak.
Like it is like coach speak, but I think, behind closed doors, you can start yapping about, we need a new point guard. I ain't a 16 and 31 player. You can't do that in front of the media. So I think these players need to grow up. They need to mature. And unfortunately for journalists, you're going to get some of the coach speak, but that's the right way for them to handle it.
Okay. That's all things basketball. Feel free to be part of it in Fans Forum. Let's go to hockey.
Hockey hotline. This is a good guy passed away.
This guy was a great guy. This guy is cut from a different cloth. Ken Dryden, legendary goaltender, Montreal Canadiens, had passed away. Very private person. What this guy accomplished as a player, what he accomplished as a person, what he accomplished as a citizen, absolutely amazing. Ken Dryden won 6 Stanley Cups during the heyday of the Montreal Canadiens. He was the first of the big goaltenders. You turn on your TV and watch NHL hockey now, and they got all these guys that are 6'4", 6'5", with all the pads and the skates, monstrously big. Back in his day, 60s into the 70s, the average goaltender was 5'6" or 5'8", 5'9". Ken Dryden was 6'4".
Oh.
And he was just monstrously big. He was the first big goaltender.
You cover the whole goal.
In the league, exactly. But he was great. Played on a great team with Montreal. He had a record, get this stat, 258, 57, and 74. That was his career one-loss record with the Montreal Canadiens.
Wow.
He was a Canadian who came to an American college. He went to Cornell University. He backstopped Cornell, he's an intellect, to the NCAA championship. Cornell's never, ever done that since. And then he obviously went to Montreal. An independent thinker. Walked away from the game after 9 years. Got into TV commentator work. Really astute. I mean, talk about intellect in the booth. Yeah. Ken Dryden. Then he left that and became a lawyer. Then he became a player agent. Then he became a university professor. And then he ran for Parliament in Canada.
Renaissance man.
Exactly. You talk about life well lived.
Yeah.
And he was so respected by so many people. He lived a full life. By the way, he was the color analyst with Al Michaels, Lake Placid, Winter Olympics, 1980, Do You Believe? This man accomplished so much. I interviewed him one time. He was astoundingly intelligent. Great man. So Canada across the provinces are really mourning him. He was not just a Montreal Canadien, but he was special to the entire country because of all the things he accomplished, all the things on his resume. I was so saddened to hear it. A very private man. Nobody knew that he had cancer. His closest hockey friends didn't know it. He went quietly and suddenly at age 78. A hell of a guy.
What a story.
Yeah.
It makes me think of, there's been a number of athletes, pro athletes, that have gone into politics. I'm just thinking off the top of my head, like Bill Bradley or maybe Steve Largent. And I remember the quarterback for the Oklahoma Sooners was a congressman for a while.
Yes, the option quarterback. Oh, you asked me too quick. I have to take the glasses off. My brain doesn't
He had like initials for a first name.
Yeah, J.C. Watts.
That's what it was, yeah. And so what about, what's the guy's name? Was it the baseball pitcher? He had he wrote a book. It was Jim Bunning. Wasn't he in Congress?
Jim Bouton.
Bouton, okay.
No, I don't think Jim Bunning was in Congress. Jim Bunning was a very successful pitcher, too. No-hit pitcher with the Phillies and Tigers, and he went to Congress.
Yeah, but didn't Jim Bunning write a really famous baseball book?
But Bouton was the one that wrote Ball 4.
Okay, that was a different... Okay, I'm getting my guys mixed up. But anyways, it's just neat to see, because, at one point in my life when I was really young, I would see these athletes on the field, and I would just say, oh, yeah, they're just athletic. You don't really know anything about what's going on between their ears. Mm-hmm. And now we're learning more about them. And there are a lot of real intellects that play sports, so it's neat to see them have life beyond sports.
Well, there are not that many of them. They're few and far between. But when you cross paths, I interviewed Jim Bunning. He was a congressman from Kentucky, I believe.
Yeah.
Interesting. But this guy was spectacularly.
Wow. I saw the Wikipedia article. I couldn't believe it.
Oh, yeah. So, if Google Ken Dryden, you'll just be amazed at the stories that are being written about the person, much less the hockey player. And obviously, he was a great hockey player during the era of the Flying Frenchman, Le Bleu Blanc Rouge. That's for the Montreal Canadiens. Jean Beliveau, Montreal Canadiens, through the Guy Lafleur, Montreal Canadiens, and he was part of that. He was a special, special guy. So anybody from the old Canada Network, feel free to jump on board. Fans Forum, talk about that. Last group of topics on the table. Here we go.
High-speed sports wire. We got auto racing, soccer, and tennis.
Yeah, let's just start. First picture there. That is Max Verstappen. You can't go to cover a Formula One race without there being something with controversy, and the something with controversy always involves him, Team Red Bull. So they're running the Italian Grand Prix at Monza. Great event, historically great event. Max Verstappen wins it. Red Bull jumped to the lead very early. The storyline was what happened in his rear view mirror. The other team, which has had a great season, led by Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri, they're running 2-3 trying to chase Verstappen down. Well, they go to pit stops. These are all slotted times when they're going to pit. Piastri goes in. They do a pit stop in 1.9 seconds.
That's unbelievable.
Change tires and in and out. So he is on the tail of chasing Verstappen. Norris comes in the next lap for his pit stop with the same McLaren team. They screw it up. He was in the pits for 5 seconds, which is fatal. So he comes flying out. So you got Verstappen running away, Piastri trying to make up time on fresh tires. Here comes Norris trying to make up time. The Team McLaren pit crew gets on the headset and tells Piastri, pull over and let Lando Norris pass, because they're trying to build points to win the points championship. Might not win the race. So Piastri says, I'm running in second place. You want me to step aside, let my guy go by? So he did.
Okay.
Anyhow, the post-race press conference was unbelievable. And, of course, Verstappen, there's not a topic in the world that he can't express an opinion on. So he's on the podium doing the post-race interview, and he's talking about why the hell would McLaren order Piastri to give up points and let Lando Norris? And they blew him away anyhow. He wound up with a 19-second victory, which is unheard of in F1. But you can't go anywhere in F1 without Verstappen having an opinion on this topic, that topic, and topics you wouldn't think he'd talk about. Second topic is Christian Pulisic and Team USA. Woo, this didn't go like they thought it was going to go. So Team USA plays a friendly where Mauricio Pochettino now has his entire roster there, all the European veterans, all the kids that played in the Gold Cup, and they lost 2-0 to South Korea. Now, the forwards played really well, had 4 scoring chances, just did not convert. Had a lot of problems on the back end with their fullbacks, breakdowns, goaltender left standing naked. They wound up losing 2-0 to South Korea. But at the end of the day, Pochettino just stood up at the press conference and said, this team played well together, this team will get better together, and results will arrive. Just bear with us. Soccer community is going crazy, same old, the end result. But the coach is optimistic that this group will play better and better, and they actually played pretty well offensively. Third one is U.S. Open tennis. It was what a performance. Carlos Alcaraz just powered his way to win, just blew out Jannik Sinner. 4 sets, totally dominated, 42 winners. It's like you playing your wife in tennis and she just smoked you. He had 42 winning shots. He ran them all over the place. He's beaten them 7 of the last 8 times they've played, and these 2 guys are obviously now the best 2 globally on the men's side. It was a pretty good U.S. Open. Djokovic got into the semifinals, and he got wiped out despite as hard as he played, but at age 37, 38. But Alcaraz has just arrived as the next superstar on the tennis circuit. So ask a question of Max Verstappen. I'm sure he'll tell you something you don't want to hear, but go ahead, pick a topic here.
Well, just those 3 guys. I mean, those are 3 dudes right there,
Yep.
you know? And, it's just the whole soccer thing. I mean, losing to South Korea. I mean, there's some trouble with the U.S. and South Korea these days in the news, so maybe a rivalry is forming. But I'll say this, the U.S. Open is one of the greatest tennis tournaments, you know? And one time, and this is like I don't know, 30 years ago. I was doing business in New York, and we got to we said, we got to go to a Mets game, and we went to Shea. But we got there early, because our business wrapped up sooner. So we walked across the parking lot, and that's where the U.S. Open Used to be, yeah.
Yep,
and
Flushing Meadow.
And then we went in, and we were able to kind of climb into the structure to get to the top. We couldn't get into the seating area, but from the very top, it was like so steep, going down to this little tennis court right at the very bottom. And I was like, oh, it's pretty cool. But it's always been a great tournament. I mean, I always think about that one year. It was Jimmy Connors came alive, and it was like a Saturday night in New York, and everyone was partying. Yeah. So what a fun tournament.
Did you hear about what happened on the eve of the finals? USTA informed the TV networks you're not to televise anything as it relates to Trump's appearance.
Yeah, I did see that. Yeah.
And ESPN turned around and in essence did. So when Trump was introduced before the beginning of the match, and he got some, and he got booed too.
Yeah, it was a big mix.
Yeah, the big mix.
Yeah,
they stayed on it, and then at the end of the first set, after Alcaraz looked like he was pulling away, they showed Trump again on the screen. He got booed again. So how did the USTA even create that incident? ESPN says we're broadcasting tennis, but if that's what you're showing, we're going to broadcast that too.
Yeah, I mean, it's freedom of the press, right? So you should cover it. And, anytime, that's one of the fun things in sports is when the camera goes into the audience, and then you'll see celebrities, right? And sometimes they're wearing the gear. And here it's Trump wearing his typical Trump outfit. But why not? Just if it were any other president, the camera would be on him too.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Yeah.
We don't televise it if anybody boos him.
So what?
So what? That's right, exactly. But I'll say that they made no reference after that. And I was surprised because who was doing the color analyst work? Speaking of having opinions on everything, John McEnroe. Johnny Mac, he'd have an opinion on everything. I love his work. I don't always agree with what he says, but I love his work on tennis.
Yeah, he's good. Wasn't he married to the singer from the band The Motels, I think, from back in the 80s? And then he was also with another actress he was married to. Wasn't it Brooke Shields?
Yes.
No, that was Agassi. No, I'm getting them all confused. But McEnroe's cool. Like about 20 years ago, over at the Rancho Bernardo Inn here, they had it was kind of like a celebrity tennis tournament, and they set up these temporary stands right up here in Rancho Bernardo, and they had Connors, and they had Nastasi was there, and it was kind of neat. It was like some of those stars from the late 70s, early 80s.
Yeah. He was a personality unto himself. He was a fine player. I think he's become a bigger mega media star than he was as a tennis star, and he was a great tennis player.
Are you serious?
That's right.
The guy is great. Yeah, and he was doing all the shtick when we saw him in Rancho Bernardo. So, yeah, McEnroe is fantastic. I saw a picture of him standing. It was a couple of, Yvonne Lendl was in a picture with him and one other guy. I can't remember who it was. I think it was Jimmy Connors. And McEnroe still has this youth vibe. He still emits young energy, even though he's like a white-haired guy.
That's called being loudmouth New York.
Yeah, I think so. You? Yeah,
Me too.
You're a Long Islander.
Okay, those are hot topics on the table. We hope you enjoy the way we're doing this because we do sports talk the way it should be done. It is time for you now to jump on board. We're going to try to bust through as many fans forum questions, answers, statements, and condemnations as is humanly possible. A couple of notes. This podcast brought to you by DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Centers, 9 locations to serve you in San Diego. You got projects, they got materials. You want ideas, they can be your best friend. DIXIELINE Lumber. Just go to DIXIELINE.com to see all the things they can offer to you. Program note, because we have travel issues this week on Thursday, instead of being on Thursday at 1:30, we're going to do Coffee and Donuts with the Dummies. We're going to do a 9 a.m. Thursday podcast this week only. Kind of an experiment. Also try to be able to keep the podcast on live stream. So join us 9 a.m. Thursday. Circle it. Put it on your calendar. We'll send out alerts. Coffee and Donuts with the Dummies. A Thursday podcast at 9 a.m. John, your turn. Your people. This is your fault if it doesn't work. Here we go. Fans forum.
Yeah, we're like the two old guys in the Muppet Show, like up in the mezzanine right there. Okay, let's go here to David. And David always likes to help us out. Thank you, David. The Dodgers missed an opportunity to strengthen their bullpen. Instead, they waited to get a bunch of hacks back from the IL to lose more games. Bullpen has a 4.5 ERA, round one playoffs elimination.
I think the Dodgers are in trouble. Of course, I think the Padres are in trouble. Who can you trust? At this point, if the Dodgers get home field advantage, that means first round bye, which that's hugely important in terms of rest for the rotation. But the Dodger bullpen is so erratic right now. 24 blown saves. ERA of the Dodger bullpen is 4.50. It's dragged down the ERA of the gold standard starting rotation, too. So Dodgers have got some problems. But Padre fans can't point up there and say, look at you guys, you're in trouble. But Padres got their own set of circumstances beyond Nick Pivetta as a starter. Who can you trust? Because we just don't know that Darvish is anywhere near back from 100%. We think they're giving the ball to Michael King tomorrow night against Cincinnati, but that's an iffy proposition because he's hardly thrown competitive innings at all since early in the season when he went down with a shoulder injury. And once you get beyond that, I'm sorry, I can't sign the subscription that I can trust Randy Vasquez in postseason play. And, where else are you going to go to get starting pitching in the playoffs? Even though John will come back and say, well, you only need 3 starters. Well, who's 2 and 3 that you're going to trust? And right. Dylan Cease? Yeah, but this is Dylan Cease has given us 1 or 2 good outings and 5 or 7 bad outings, too. So I think they've both got significant problems postseason.
Oh, yeah, they do. I mean, there's a lot of warts on these 2 rosters, even though we thought the Dodgers were going to run away with it. But I think David's comment is similar to your condemnation of Andrew Friedman for being so arrogant, that he didn't go out and stock up that bullpen and get some arms because they could sure use them now. Yeah,
and every one of those guys in the bullpen's been hurt. And how many of these guys are trustworthy? I mean, they went to Trinan after Yamamoto's near no-hitter. And Trinan let 4 guys on, and they all came around and scored and cost Yamamoto the win, cost him the legacy of having a no-hitter, too. So, and then you got Tanner Scott's inability to move the ball around the plate. I mean, he's given up 10 home runs in like 45 innings.
It just makes no sense because I remember he was so dominant with the Marlins, then came to the Padres, did really well, and then Dodger fans were giving Padre fans the business. Ha, we signed Tanner Scott. We're getting your guy. And Padre fans were kind of crushed by it all. But now, who can you trust?
Exactly. And Kopech is not Kopech. I think the Dodgers have, outside of Alex Vesia, out of the bullpen, and he's just coming off the DL. Who else is trustworthy?
Banda.
Well, Banda and Vesia, and that's about it.
Yeah.
Okay, David, thanks for being with us.
Whatever happened to Joe Kelly? Is he still playing?
He's missed the entire season. He's got a lot of mileage, and he had arm problems. So
he's perfect in a Dodger uniform, though.
Well, yeah. But he's not going to be there this year.
Okay, let's keep going. And by the way, thank you for the donation, David. And then we got the O-Siders gave us use a super sticker, one of the features in YouTube Super Chat, to donate a little money to Hacksaw. Thanks for that. And O-Siders has a question. It says, ESPN is trying to purchase exclusive rights to all the broadcasts for most sports. Could this be considered a monopoly?
No, not really, because you've looked at all the other companies have access to all the other sports packages, too. NBC's got a chunk of the NFL, and obviously Fox has a chunk of the NFL, and Fox has got its college football game day. ABC's got college football. ESPN is obviously trying to expand and go in different directions. I mean, if they controlled it all the content, you'd say, yeah, but they don't. And now it's streaming. You got all these other factors coming in where I want this piece, I want that piece, et cetera. So, no, it's not a monopoly.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it is interesting how there's consolidation, but to your point, yeah, it's not a monopoly. We still have, we still have local broadcasting for some of these sports as well. But in the end, if ESPN amasses more and more market share, but the quality of the broadcast keeps going up, then so what? As long as it's a good offering. And when these leagues go and put their contracts out to bid, if ESPN's winning the business because they're the best one, then I don't see any reason to complain, even if they ended up with over 80% of the market.
But there's a limitation as to your rights fees. I mean, how deep are your pockets in terms of the money you got to pay to get the rights fee? They're not going to control everything because there are now these other players that are showing up, and now these streamers are showing up.
Yeah.
They want a piece of the pie, even if the piece of the pie is a small amount. It's a really legitimate question.
Well, it's just all the innovation that's going on, to your point. All these channels, I mean channels, not like a turn the channel, but channels like pathways to get content. Right. So, all right, let's keep moving here. Lots going on. This is from Michael. He goes, Hacksaw, come to Indie Radio and do a 3-hour show here. All they talk about here is local sports.
Well, you can talk local sports. That's great. But, I mean, I've always done a national sports talk show, which was headlined by all the local teams that I had opinions on. But we also touched bases on a lot of other things. I've been to Indy, love Indianapolis. Went to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. You've never been to the Hall of Fame there, have you?
No, I haven't.
Oh, John, got to get out of the house. You got to go to the 500 if you can. And the Hall of Fame is really kind of cool. And Indiana basketball is, my God, that's historic. That's a legacy of sports. And high school basketball, we talk movies all the time. Love the movie Hoosiers. That's the epitome of what Indiana is all about.
Yeah. I mean, Indiana has got its own unique culture. My wife's family had some farmland out there, and there's still some of their relatives live there. But when we drove through Indianapolis, I mean, the big highlight for us was to go to White Castle because I had never had that before. And but it was a cool vibe in town. But yeah, that deserved a lot more time and attention for us.
Yeah, it's a great slice of Americana.
Oh, big time.
Thank you, Mike. I hope you become a regular. Spread the word about what we're doing.
Okay, let's go here to John. And this looks like a new poster, new caller. Hey, how do you rate the Saturday Dodger game on Cal Ripken's 30th with other memorable Dodger games? By the way, tomorrow is the 60th anniversary of Koufax's perfect game against the Cubs. One hit, bet both teams.
Well, forever emblazoned on my memory bank is Vin Scully's call of Sandy Koufax's no-hitter.
2-2 to Harvey Keene.
Yeah, that's great. The Ripken anniversary home run trot when he broke Gehrig's record. What an amazing moment in the world of sports that was. In fact, the Orioles just honored Ripken for that, and it's hard to believe it's been 30 years. But yeah, there are moments that are indelible in your sports soul forever. Bobby Thompson's shot heard around the world home run.
Oh, yeah.
Brooklyn Dodgers, old New York Giants, way back in the day. I mean, those are moments you never, ever forget because history is part of the game.
Yeah, I think about Hank Aaron's 715th.
Exactly.
That was a big moment, and even the 98, juiced up steroid home run race with Sosa and McGuire and everything was kind of fun. But, with a couple of things with Cal Ripken, one of the things I remember is in that All-Star game, A-Rod agreed to flip-flop and go to third so Ripken could play short.
Yep.
And that was the final year. And Ripken and Gwynn have always sort of been loosely connected. They're both in the same Hall of Fame class. So I don't know. I just think one of the things that makes baseball special compared to other sports is the history.
Exactly.
And especially how it's woven into American culture. So the more of this kind of thing, of celebrating history, the more the better.
Concur with you wholeheartedly. Really great point. John, hope you become a regular. Thank you.
Okay, let's go back up here to this part of the list and to Callan. He goes, afternoon, gents. Saw a thank you. I work as one of the PA announcers at USD and got to do their football game on Saturday. And in your honor, the Hacksaw touchdown San Diego call lives on.
Well, I won't ask you to send me a rights fee royalty check for doing that. It doesn't quite sound the same, though, with the University of San Diego, but they won a game. They won, I think it was 30-27. And, that coach is, I think, a good coach. Brendan Moore had a good year last year. It's a unique environment, the USD is, and it's a non-scholarship program. I wish they were in a conference that was more recognizable than the Pioneer Conference, which is out there. University of Dayton and Whitney, all those people. I wish they were in the Big Sky Conference, but that's 1AA football, and that's an enormous amount of scholarship money. But, if you had USD in that conference, that'd give more visibility, more recognition, because the Montanas and the Montana States, Idaho States, that's a pretty good brand of football there. But, where they are in college basketball and with hats off to UCSD.
Oh, yeah.
Joining the West Coast Conference in basketball, which is where USD is, and that's kind of cool. Of course, Gonzaga is exiting, so they're going to need to make some changes. But USD is kind of a neat place. I just wish it had more visibility, but it does not. They got a good football coach that nobody knows about. They got a really good basketball coach who's gone through a very, very bad time because I don't think he's got the resources. But Steve Lavin maintains he's going to fix this thing.
What's interesting with Callan is he comments on our podcast all the time. Good guy, but he's an aspiring sports broadcaster, sports journalist. He's getting some gigs. And I'm just wondering, from your point of view, if someone wanted to get into this business, to do what you've done, do you give any career advice? What would you recommend?
Yeah, all the time. I went to a place called Ohio University, had a great school of communications, and that was the foundation that I built my career on because of people I crossed paths with. And it was funny because I have a friend here who works for an eye doctor whose son is at Arizona State now, and they have a great school of communications. Mm-hmm. And he is in that school of communications, and he's doing stuff out in the hinterlands, these small radio stations, doing high school football. And I was talking to a parent about it. And, my son is excited. He gets to do Arizona high school football on a Friday night. Flashback. I said, that's where I began. I began in Appalachia, in small market, Ohio.
Good for you.
I was a voice of the Logan Chieftains.
Right on.
On a tiny AM FM station. And we did a big game night broadcast, and that became important. So I tell kids, if you have an interest in this industry, you need to go to a university that has a good communications program. And you can check all that stuff out and find out about internships and find out as a launching point to your career, because it's all about doing games. And we all come from somewhere. And I came from a small community of 5,000 in Logan, Ohio. That's where I started my career. And I go back there, and I still see the friends that I had there that I started as a broadcaster. So you can do it. I wound up in the NFL and the NHL. I never, ever thought that would happen, but that's how I got my start.
That's cool. I can just imagine you, like with the Logan Chieftains, is that what's their name? Just doing the 9-hour Sunday
no, we didn't do 9
game
hours.
day broadcast.
But we did an hour pregame show on high school football on Friday.
That's cool. I mean, that what a thrill for the players.
I will bring in a picture of Hacksaw doing high school football. You won't freaking believe it.
Oh, I've seen some of those oldie pictures of you.
Yes.
And you look fantastic. It was perfect in the 70s.
Back in the day. Callum, thanks for being with us.
Okay, here's 2 quick hits from Royal Sports. He goes, go Vikings. I got some money on a win, and Dub Bears are terrible.
Okay, I don't know if this is Royal Sports. There's a Canadian sports company called Royal Sports out of Winnipeg. Massively big in terms of selling jerseys and all that. Maybe this is part of the old Canada Network, but we'll see what the Vikings do against the Bears tonight. J.J. McCarthy has never done this before, although I will say this. He is surrounded by skill. I mean, he's got those wide receivers, Justin Jefferson, and when they get Addison back, and Hawkinson, the tight end, and they're too deep at running back. That's a pretty good football team. Defense is pretty good, and I think they got a bright light coach in Kevin O'Connell. And in terms of the Bears, we got to see what happens with this relationship of Caleb Williams, new coach Ben Johnson, very different playbook. And they've fixed their offensive line, which was a problem last year. I mean, he took 60-plus sacks. So we'll just see what the Bears look like this year with a lot of new players and a new coach, new philosophy, and whether or not Caleb can be explosive and yet operate under the system that Ben Johnson wants to operate under.
Yeah, there was a lot of storylines here. Following Caleb Williams, because he was Oklahoma, USC, and I kind of want to see how he's going to do. It'll be nice to see if he can reinvigorate the whole Bears franchise. But even J.J. McCarthy, I'm not sure what to expect. Wasn't last year he had a great camp and then he blew out his knee, right?
He had multiple surgeries for meniscus, and he had the meniscus in camp, and I thought, okay, he'll be back. He never came back, and then he had another setback.
Yeah, and so we've never really seen him in a regular season game. So that's what's going to make this interesting.
Okay, we move on. Thanks for being with us, Royal Sports. Become a regular.
Oh, here's a quick shout-out from Angel. Breakfast with Hacksaw and Riley. I'll bring the McMuffin.
Well, again, reminder, Thursday, We have a different start time this Thursday only. Coffee and donuts with the dummies. We're going to do a podcast at 9 a.m. on Thursday because John and I both have some travel commitments we have to get involved with. But, yeah. And we're still, I don't know how we're going to do it. We're trying to figure out how to get Hacksaw's Insiders Group so John can buy everybody a shot of Jack Daniels.
You're bringing that up again.
Yeah, we have. I think we now have close to 400 people who put Hacksaw's Insiders Group, which you get on that by virtue of my website, but you get emails and all that. We've been talking about how do we get this together, and we haven't found a place to do it. So.
Well, we just got to find a moment in your schedule.
Yeah,
that's part of the challenge.
That schedule's kind of jammed with life. Okay, thanks for being with us.
Okay, let's go here to Casey. Hey, good afternoon, guys. Hacksaw, with Dodgers and Padres who are struggling, and the Giants and D-backs have been playing better of late, do you think Giants and D-backs could be a threat in the NL West race possibly?
Well, San Francisco had a run here where they won 11 of their last 12. And I said, they're back. They had gotten within 4 games of the Padres, and then they started losing again. So I just don't know where San Francisco is, but San Francisco is going to play a bunch of games against the Dodgers, and they're going to, the Padres are still in the mix. So I think the Padres have the easier schedule because the Dodgers do have to play Philadelphia, and they got to play Seattle right at the end. And, the Padres schedule is a little bit easier, I think, going forward. They get Milwaukee, which is really good, but they get them here right towards the last week of the season, and will Milwaukee be in a position where we're going to rest our guys. So, but they still got to do it. 2 weeks ago when we were looking at the Dodgers-Padres playing all these last-place people, I said, no problem. We're going to hot streak together. I haven't seen any hot streaks here lately, have you?
No. I mean, you're still always looking over your shoulder, Not just at the Diamondbacks and the Giants, but, the Reds are back there sort of cooking.
The Mets had a hot spell. Now the Mets have given ground again.
So, we're all scoreboard watching this part of the year. But remember the year that was this? I think this is the one year when Holiday didn't touch home plate. And remember the Rockies went on that great run in September. They won like $1 million in a row.
Yeah, Clint Hurdle and the guys.
Yeah, so, I mean, there's still a chance something stupid like that could happen.
The hardest part for me is if you don't win the division and you're a wild card team, you're on the road. You're going to play all 3 of the games on the road. And we broke this down a week ago on the podcast. Do you really think you'd be in good shape if you had to go play all 3 of your wild card games in Philly or at Wrigley Field?
That's not good.
Because that's the potential if the Padres don't win the division.
Yeah. And it's a tough uphill climb.
Yep.
Yeah, it's unlike any other. There's no playoff scenario I can think of in a multi-game series where all the games are in one location.
Yep. To start that first round.
Yeah, that's brutal.
Okay, thanks for being with us, Case.
Okay, just another quick one from Michael. He goes, fly, Eagles, fly. Can the Eagles go into Kansas City and beat the Chiefs?
Kansas City's in trouble. Not only did they lose to Justin Herbert and the Chargers, now Kansas City in the next group of weeks has to pick up the pieces and play Philly, Detroit, and Baltimore. So what do you think that's going to be like? And this is not Kansas City vintage roster. They may have Reed, they may have Mahomes. I don't think they've got what they've used to have on that roster. That's why I think there's a change into the guard coming in the AFC West. I don't know if it's the Chargers. Maybe it's Sean Payton in Denver. But this does not look like Kansas City being Kansas City any longer.
Well, just think about it. Like, there's no real stars, right, that are – other than, Kelsey. I mean, as far as pass-catching players, Worthy is hurt. He's out for 6 weeks, right?
And Rashee Rice is gone for 6 games.
He's gone. What's that other guy? Smith-Schuster. Isn't he on some other team now? Or is he?
No, Juju's there, but he's a fringe performer, but they didn't target him enough in that game. I didn't understand any of the play calling. I mean, what are you doing, Andy? You got Travis Kelce and target him twice in the first half? What are you doing?
That was weird, I remember.
And the Chargers, historically, their linebackers can't freaking cover tight ends. What are you doing?
Well, at some point, the big guys come back down to earth, and maybe this is the beginning of the decline.
Mahomes is still brilliant and tried to do it all by himself, and he couldn't do it. So there are a lot of segments of the Kansas City game plan that I didn't understand.
You remember that pass that Mahomes threw? He was kind of like airborne, like vertical or horizontal with the it was just like an infielder in baseball.
Double play.
But the Eagles are they're just world beaters right now. I mean, they've got to be the favorite to win it all again, right?
And Baltimore's they must be so pissed right now about what happened last night. And Detroit. I mean, Detroit got mugged by Green Bay. So you'll see a different Detroit team going forward. So I think right now at this point in time, Kansas City's they got huge problems with what's just ahead of them in the schedule.
Yeah,
okay.
they do. Okay, here's an interesting one here. This is from Hitman. San Diego State football collapses are always the same.
Well, it's a bad struggle. You know, Aztec for Life fans, you're invited to be part of this thing. You give me a different solution. Here's the line I'm going to draw. Okay? Don't step across this line. Aztec fans, you got a critique, not of me and my public stance. I have a right to my opinion. You have a right to express why San Diego State football is in such a state of decline. Instead of sitting here attacking me and him, just attack the question of the day. What's happened? How can they fix it? That's the big issue. They are now 7-20 in the last 2.5 years. Now, granted, there's no doubt that Sean Lewis is 4-10. Scoreboard does not lie. But he's recruited well. He's got athletes. Patience is probably a key word. But instead of Aztec fan coming after me, the messenger, just explain where they are, why they got this way, and what's happened to all the Aztec for lifers. Because I swear to you had 13,300 for that first home game. That's deplorable, and that's on you guys, not the host, etc. By the way, speaking of Aztec football, starting quarterback last year, Danny O'Neill, forced into the starting lineup at Wisconsin because the starter, Billy Edwards, got hurt in the first game. Danny O'Neill made his first start last Saturday. Now, this is against a 1AA team, but he was 20 for 24.
Wow.
Threw for 283 and 3 touchdowns. Now, that's Wisconsin against a 1AA team.
It's like Middle Tennessee State or something.
Yeah, it was Middle Tennessee.
Yeah.
So that kid played well. Now, he's got to stay in the lineup once they flip into the Big Ten schedule. We'll see how he does, but that was a pretty good coming out for a debut game that he had to play in.
Good for him, but I've kind of turned the page on Danny O'Neill.
I wish he was still here. I wish he had not betrayed Sean Lewis.
I know. I just think of you and your takes on San Diego State, and I think of Aztec Mike, who's usually always chirping in my left ear on Facebook direct message. And I love Aztec Mike. He's a good guy.
Address the questions of why your program is where the program is.
But he's a cheerleader for the Aztecs. Everything is rosy.
Explain why your best friends are not coming to the games, Aztec Mike.
Yeah, exactly.
Instead of attacking me. By the way, I was at the press conference. I asked all the legitimate questions at Sean Lewis's press conference and Brian Dutcher's press conference today because I cover it, because I like it, and I want to support it, but I have to ask the tough questions. Okay.
Well, what were the highlights from Dutcher?
Actually, they're talking about they unveiled the complete basketball schedule. And they play Oregon, and they play Michigan, and they play Arizona, and then they'll probably play in the championship game of the Players Festival in Vegas.
Hell yeah.
That's 4 big-time non-conference teams. But Dutch's base comment was, we build our resume in November. We qualify for the NCAA tournament by whom we play non-conference in November. It was a great sales pitch. And he talked obviously about the roster. I mean, I think this is the deepest roster they've had under Brian Dutcher. They had great players. No doubt about that, the Menses of the world, etc. This is the deepest, most talented, layered roster I think they've ever had. So this is going to be fun to watch.
Oh, I can't wait. I literally cannot wait. And it's only, 2 months away, and I think they'll be able to get going.
Yeah, now they're not going to have Magoon go out to start preseason camp. That might be late October.
Okay.
Again, he's coming off the 2 knee scopes.
Yeah.
But they should be excited. I mean, they've done a great job. He made a comment today I'd never thought about. He said, if you could chart all the players who transferred from schools, we probably have the least number of D1 transfers in the portal based on the culture of our program. He's right.
He is right. And do you think there's any chance that Sean Lewis can take the football program to somewhere in the neighborhood of what Dutcher has done, being a Power 5 school in a non-Power 5 conference?
That's a lot of work. But can it be done? I just want them to be what they used to be. You know, I went back and did that research piece. I wrote a column about it. They were under Rocky Long and Brady Hoke. They were 106-48.
That's good.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Now, did they get nationwide recognition? No. Did they get in the Pac-12? No. Were they really good at this level, that chosen level, the Mountain West? Damn right they were. That's where Sean Lewis has to get this thing back from. But that does not happen with a snap of the fingers overnight. That's why the word of the day is patience. They just need to have patience with the kid quarterback and see if they can grow it.
Yeah, I'm okay with it, kind of a little. It's not going to be a trajectory like this, but as long as Sean Lewis can kind of keep taking the steps, I'm good with it.
But they got to win.
Well, they got to win.
And
that was a winnable game on Saturday.
And they obviously haven't gotten close there. So I'm patient. We're going to cover the story the way it is. We're going to ask the pointed questions that need to be asked, and we'll see where it goes from there. Okay, let's move on. A couple more.
Okay, a couple more here, and there's two good ones here. Let's go first to Bloody Holly. He goes, grateful for YouTube being free, but no pause, no rewind. That sucked bad.
Not quite sure I understand that, because you can always go back and rewatch the podcast.
No, but see, with smart TVs now, you can fast forward and rewind from a live program, which, for those of us that were raised with, rabbit ears with tinfoil on them, it's like a whole new thing.
Okay. I understand that. But you can always go back and rewatch, because once we put it up, once it's on the YouTube channel, it's there forever.
Yeah. I think it's cool. And it was interesting, that we were able to download the YouTube app onto the smart TV, and it didn't look like the clunky web interface. It was actually quite elegant in the way it performed on the television. I thought overall it was good. Oh, but the pregame, postgame show was horrible for that. I mean, it was just like watching Romper Room or something.
Yeah, everybody had a shtick, and I mean, why they did that, I thought it degraded away. In fact, I was here with John, and we watched the Charger-Chief game. I said, please turn this noise off. I don't want to hear this noise in this pregame. And all these different people doing these different things, trying to draw attention to themselves and their shtick. And
they're trying to shoot a person through a cannonball, over the goalpost.
I'll pass on that. Just give me the opening kickoff, and John did. So,
but there's so many quality pregame, postgame shows that are out there. There's a formula that's proven how it can work, and that what they did, which is stupid.
Yeah, I concur.
Okay, here's another comment about the show that I think is worthy of bringing up from Angel. He goes, I love when the NFL goes international, but not for the regular season. They should do it in preseason, just like in the 1980s.
Well, they've done it, but again, you draw bigger crowds, which equates to bigger money revenue streams if you're doing it in regular season, because these games are important. I did games as a voice of the Chargers. We were in Japan and we played in Germany. They were just fascinating experiences. But at the end of the day, if it's a regular season game with real importance, like Chargers-Chiefs, that's why I drew $17.7 million on Friday night on TV, which is an unbelievable TV number. It's not the greatest of all time, but it's damn close.
Yeah, I mean, preseason games they don't really count. And I'd imagine, like, if you're in Germany or wherever, and your NFL team's coming in and it's like a preseason game, and you're like, it's just It doesn't have the same, value.
Yep.
But overall, I love it. I love how they're going international. Spread, Johnny Appleseed, spread the news, spread the message, and get more people enjoying the NFL is all good.
I concur. And that's why they're expanding. I mean, 7 international games this year? I mean, the international games played in England, and now they're going to go to France, they're going to go to Spain. They've been spectacular.
Yeah, it'd be interesting, really, though, to talk to an NFL fan in a foreign country and say, okay, really, do you prefer the NFL or do you prefer, soccer?
But those NFL fans over there, the most part, there's probably used to be here that live over there.
Right.
Now, there's no doubt you'll get Manchester United, Liverpool soccer fan will be wearing somebody's jersey, and he'll go to the game because it's the thing to do. But I would think an awful lot of the fans that are going to these games abroad in London, all the ones at Wembley Stadium, I think have been in America and have sampled NFL football here, and they've gone back there.
Yeah.
Okay, move on.
Moving on. Okay, here's first-time guy Todd. First-time message, Padre fan here. San Diego has it easier.
Oh, so he looked at the base of the schedule. I think they do right now. And again, that's because the Giants have gotten kind of scary again. And obviously Seattle's in a dogfight. So who plays who? You look at the makeup. Now, I'll say this. The Padres going cross-country this late in the season, that they have to go to the Citi Field and play the Mets. And the Mets are in a fight for their life right now. The thing that helps them, they get Milwaukee the final week of the season, but Milwaukee, in all likelihood, is probably sitting there going to rest their players because they've won that division. So, but I can't trust the Padres starting rotation, and he can't trust the Dodger bullpen. So this thing is wild, and they both got 19 games left. Todd, thanks for being with us.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. I think the Padres got a little bit easier, but it's still going to be crazy going down the stretch. It's going to be so much fun to watch. Okay, and there's one other one in here I wanted to get to before we get to social media. And this is for another first-timer from John. Andrew Friedman is an idiot.
Well, I wouldn't say that. I just don't understand the rationale. When you got the resources, his farm system is loaded. You trade one of those guys and you go get the right reliever who's a closer. And I don't think that they did. And here they are at the end of the day. They're as in bad shape right now in mid-September in the bullpen as they were August 31st in the bullpen as the deadline was approaching. And they had the chance to make a significant deal, and they didn't.
Yeah, Dodger fans, I think, they still revere Andrew Friedman because of the farm system and the whole organization. One more Dodger comment from Showtime. Never seen a team be 1 out away from a no-no and blow it. It's just ridiculous. Teoscar and Pages need to play better, bottom line.
Well, defensively, there are a lot of lapses. I mean, but again, this is not Mookie Betts creating an error and making a mistake, but it's the other guys. I mean, they got problems in center. They got problems in right. And it's just a big issue. Can Hussein Kim kind of seal the deal and become a much more reliable infielder? Maybe. And Muncy's had 2 different injuries. Now they're activating Muncy, we're led to believe, is going to play tonight against Cincinnati. So 19 games left. We'll see if they can hold on to win first place. I would have thought by now, John, somebody would have had a hot spell and taken this thing by the throat. Neither one has.
They're trying to give it away, both teams. Now, you always talk about the gold standard pitching, but Glasnow, is he gone for the year? Or?
No, he had back tightness. I think he's going to try to pitch at the end of this week. They don't seem to be alarmed, but it flared again. He's such a mechanical nightmare, and different things keep happening to him as they've tried to refine his delivery. He's a big, gangly guy at 6'7".
Remember that old kids game Mousetrap? You push a button here or make a lever go this way. There's a name for that. Some psychologist cooked it up. But that's what I think about Tyler Glasnow. With all these levers and limbs and everything else, you throw one thing off and it throws something else off.
Yeah, it's good comparison. And he says, I've adjusted and I'm doing this, and all of a sudden I get a problem in my neck.
Yeah.
Or I make an adjustment to my delivery. Now I got a problem in my elbow. And this is all an end result because he had problems. He's had chronic elbow forearm problems his whole career, going all the way back to Pittsburgh through Tampa. So they've tried to make adjustments, and something else crops up as they've made these adjustments.
Just been a ridiculous season for both of these teams.
Yeah, very much so.
Okay, let's go to social media, get a couple of our friends here involved. And this, again, the rivalry is amazing. This is from Big Rick Dog. He goes, Padres only have a bunch of good players, not a team. They worry about the Dodgers, and the Dodgers don't care about them. The only team in California not to win a World Series? LOL, losers.
Just feel free to throw a hand grenade down I-5 towards San Diego fan. But, I mean, Dave Roberts has openly admitted this has just become a fierce rivalry. And I'll tell you, Petco Park is it is electric when the Dodgers play here. And Dodger fans do come and pay the prices and sit, and they get their seats too. It's just a great, great rivalry. So I don't think we can ignore that it's big brother versus little brother anymore, even though my partner sometimes likes to throw that out there. And the Padres are damn good. But, until the Padres in the World Series, the Dodgers are the ones that have accomplished a hell of a lot more than the Padres have recently.
Yeah, you got to put up or shut up. But he's right. I mean, the only team hasn't won one. I mean, the Giants, the A's, the Angels, the Dodgers. What the hell? Come on, Padres.
Okay.
All right. I like this question. This is from Callan. He goes, I forgot to ask you on Thursday. UC San Diego to the West Coast Conference. React to me.
Good move. I mean, you consider where they've gone from 4 years, from Division I into the Big West, which I thought was a weird fit, and then obviously now to the West Coast Conference. But the West Coast conference will be different. The minute Gonzaga leaves at the end of the basketball season, and those guys all go to the Pac-12, now the West Coast Conference is going to be a different type of conference. So now there's talk out there that they may try to get UCSB, Cal Santa Barbara, which has got a nice small basketball tradition. They may try to get them to come on board. So the West Coast Conference it will be at a different level. But UCSD, that was a mystical year last season. Now everybody's gone. This is a clean piece of paper as they promote that coach from within. He's got to go get more players, and we'll see what this basketball season's like.
Oh, they're building a dynasty at UCSD. I can just see it. This is great as an alum. I'm
So
thrilled.
you're telling me it was not one and done?
No, hopefully not. But it's interesting because when I saw this question here from Callan, and I went back and looked at the lineup of the West Coast Conference and the Big West, and I'm like, okay, what are the big differences? And the Big West has really no presence in the San Francisco Bay Area, has no real presence anymore with Gonzaga in the Seattle area or not in the Portland area. So there's a lot more media markets, I think, which is good for UCSD. And the UCSD has often been kind of a little bit arrogant about their academics and their research and all the things that go on there. And they like to be associated with other schools like that. And you're like, oh, Cal State Fullerton, Long Beach, good schools, but it's not UCSD level.
No.
So it makes sense that Santa Barbara might join them. But in the end, I think this could be good for UCSD. Plus, they get the rivalry right here across town with USD.
Yeah, and there's talk about, well, we'll have a rivalry with Pepperdine and Loyola Marymount, but those schools are not annually, year by year, great basketball programs. I mean, it's a mishmash conference in terms of legacy. There's not a lot of legacy now that Gonzaga will be stepping out at the end of the winter.
And, by the way, St. Mary's is in the WCC. Their head coach, Randy Bennett, UCSD alum.
Exactly.
So lots of connections.
Yeah, so a chance for somebody else to step up and be the flagship. But you got to do it on the court. You got to prove it. I mean, St. Mary's has been really good. Gonzaga has owned it. Is anybody here now going to replace Gonzaga? I don't know, but there'll be an opportunity.
Yeah. We'll see how this goes.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, let's do one more here.
One more, and okay, here's talk a different topic. We'll talk golf, and this is with DSB. He goes, the LIVers made their decision. They sold their souls and took the cash. Enjoy the yachts and meaningless trophies.
Well, it's going to be interesting because Tiger Woods is now going to have a lot of input as the head of the, quote, PGA's future committee. And it's going to be input not just about the changing of the game of golf, but it's going to be the input about the marketing of the game and TV network contracts and programming of the game. But, it's obvious and it's evident to me that this LIV merger is kind of dead in the water because the PGA rejected the last LIV offer. LIV offered a lot of money to come in to run the European division. But the LIV wants to keep team play in. The PGA says that has no bearing on anything. We don't want that. Everybody likes medal play, stroke play, etc. That's the personality of who we are. So Tiger comes on board to lead the Futures Committee. And still out there is, what are you going to do with the guys who defected? They should not be allowed back in free without a penalty or an entrance fee to come back. So this thing seems to be farther apart now than it was before. And nobody's paying attention to LIV golf. You don't know when they play, where they play, etc. They can play on the Trump courses. Doesn't mean a hill of beans here in the country. And now PGA is developing its next wave of pretty good young golfers that everybody's paying more attention to.
He's the perfect guy to do it, because not only does he have the golf knowledge, but wherever he goes, they're going to pay attention to him. And so if he can find a way to make the sport better, and maybe be the matchmaker that brings these two sides together. But in terms of being an innovator, I trust Tiger Woods. I think he has the right judgment for this job.
It'll be fun to see. But again, when they asked him to be the leader of the, quote, Futures Committee, they said, do not pay attention to anything LIV related. That's a separate business thing that's got to be resolved. So his whole thing is the PGA, the packaging of the games or the events, the marketing of the events on TV, etc. Because there is another wave of good young guys arriving on the PGA Tour, and we're not paying any attention. As much as I hate to say it, we don't pay any attention to Phil Mickelson or Dustin Johnson. And if John Rahm wants to come back, then he'll come back, and he's still a great golfer. And Brooks Koepka is a great golfer, but it's going to have to be under a set of rules in which you got to pay a penalty for what you did because you violated your tour card.
Ignore the elephant in the room.
It's a big elephant.
It is. I mean, they really need to holistically solve this. That's more important than coming up with a new way to do a tournament or having some kind of a rotation of different courses for PGA. You need to solve this merger.
Yeah.
And until that's solved, then everything else is meaningless.
Listen, we hope you have enjoyed this. Just a program note, we have a special Thursday starting time. Coffee and Donuts with the Dummies. We're going to be on the air Thursday at 9 a.m. Pacific because we both have travel commitments on the weekend. So hope you'll join us for the live stream. If you can't make it at 9 a.m., it'll be up there on the YouTube channel for you to check out all along. This podcast brought to you by Dixieline Lumber and Home Centers, 9 locations to serve you in San Diego. Got ideas? They got materials. Want ideas? They can be your best friend, your consultant. Just go to DIXIELINE.com to see all the things they have to offer. It's just great to have you be part of this podcast. The numbers of subscribers on all the different platforms is absolutely through the roof. It's gone places we've never, ever thought it would go. We're glad that you're part of making the commitment to be with us on Thursday because we do sports talk the way it should be done. John, we got weekend 2 of the NFL. Here comes college football. We got baseball pennant races with 19 games to play for both the Dodgers and Padres, so there'll be a lot to talk about. Thursday, coffee and donuts with the dummies.
And we've got Monday Night Football for real. That's tonight.
Hey, thank you for being with us. Great to have you part of this team. Hope you'll tell all your friends what we're doing. Thanks for being with us on Hacksaw's Headlines.
Join us again for Hacksaw's Headlines on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. And find the audio version on your favorite podcast app.
Touchdown, San Diego!
For more content, go to LeeHacksawHamilton.com.